Hello. I listened to a podcast that pertains to a lot of the content here of, what I'm trying to do here, whatever that is. So I want to point out a podcast from iHeartMedia called Hollywood Exiles, and it is hosted by Oona Chaplin. Now, Oona Chaplin is the granddaughter of Charles Chaplin and the granddaughter of Oona O'Neill Chaplin. She's the daughter of Geraldine Chaplin, and so Geraldine named her after her grandmother, after her mother, Oona. So Oona Chaplin is an actress and is 38 years old. And she hosted this podcast on BBC, CBC, and iHeartMedia that has to do with the 50s blacklist, the 40s, 50s Red Scare, and how they pertain to her grandfather, Charles Chaplin. So it's more information about the Red Scare, and it's a pretty quick podcast of about half-hour episodes, 10 of them, and I thought it was quite good and informative. They speak to an old woman who was over 100 years old at the time, and was a screenwriter and was a member of the Communist Party. And some other people too. There were witnesses of the time. They speak with Dalton Trumbo's, one of Dalton Trumbo's children, daughter, who talks about what went on with them when Dalton was jailed for a year for contempt of Congress, and what went on with the Red Scare and how he eventually emerged from the blacklisting while writing lots of scripts using other names, all during the blacklist, which is something that's recounted in the Woody Allen film from many years ago called The Front, where he plays a writer who is fronting for a Hollywood blacklisted person. So anyway, it mostly talks about Chaplin, and it talks about Dalton Trumbo's case quite a bit, because Dalton Trumbo was really a main character in all this, in that he faced down Congress and told them, you're not allowed to be doing this. And, once again, it has a lot of material about the House Un-American Activities Committee. And a lot of my complaints about this period is that it's always referred to as McCarthyism. And the thing is, McCarthy was in the Senate. McCarthy didn't start his thing until the 50s. And right after World War II, in like 1946-47, the House Un-American Activities Committee was very active. They were the ones who called in all the Hollywood people, and which forced the producers to accept this sort of blacklist idea, so they could keep making their movies without government interference. The reason I complain about the McCarthyism thing is it makes it all like one guy was doing it, when it was a lot of them. A lot of these people in the House and in Congress and in the Senate were the ones who were perpetrating all this Red Scare. It was not just one guy, it was this whole movement within the country of these, right-wingers and, Christian Southern type people, and, the same old characters that we see all the time coming forward with all this stuff. And they were, and the reason I think this is so important is that this Hollywood was very important. The movies were very, very important and very big medium. And that they called in all these people and questioned them about their political beliefs. And it sent, fear all through this business. And I think shut down the business basically forever in certain ways of speaking about socialism and human rights and all this stuff. Whereas they were throughout the 50s, America was all just fine. Everything was great, and wifey was in the kitchen, and dad had his one income that supported the family and all that. And it is not really the real America. And that's why I think this is a very, very important period that people really should look into, this Red Scare, as well as the recent Twitter files with Matt Taibbi and other journalists who were allowed, when Elon Musk bought Twitter, allowed in for a while and allowed to have all this information about the government messing with Twitter, like suppressing things that ended up being true, such as Biden's son's laptop thing and other things, how they use intelligence agencies were contacting Twitter, telling them what they should do and what they shouldn't do. And, this is supposed to be a free country and not to be messed with by these government agencies. And, that story was kind of ignored by mainstream corporate media. And when I think it was just very important, and we're going to see another kind of, I'm afraid, lockdown on information and silencing of a lot of internet voices that we see on YouTube, alternative news things like, I don't know, Jimmy Dore or Redacted or Do Dissidents or, useful idiots, what have you. Will these things be shut down as government is given power to do that? And the president is, there was a law passed that the president is given power to do this, and you can't even complain about a war by aggressive war by a foreign government without being banded racist of some sort. So, it's a real lockdown of protest and information, and that's why I think Hollywood Exiles is an important podcast and worth listening to. It's commercial, so it has a lot of the iHeart commercials come up, and it also is kind of a high production value podcast. It has a theme song that goes on too long. After the credits, we hear the credits of who produced the thing. It's like just a little overproduced in that way, but ultimately had really good information and kind of new things that I hadn't been aware of before. How J. Edgar Hoover was involved, how Ronald Reagan was involved, how this guy that owned the restaurant was involved, and how information was gotten out of Reagan, who was head of the Screen Actors Guild, and passed to this restaurant guy who ended up giving it to this other committee, the right-wing committee. So Hollywood Exiles, it's a good podcast, and I think you should check it out if you're interested in any of this stuff, and I think you should be. So we'll talk to you again soon. I'm reading Black Boy by Richard Wright, and it's really good. So I'll probably be talking about that next when you see me next, if you do see me next.